Yo, you want to wait for anyone? Or you just
Yeah.
want to go?
Go. Let's
Okay,
go.
it's 4:00, man. You're either here and happy or you're not. Here we go.
Exactly.
Happy hour. Natty Tax happy hour. Natty Tax happy hour. Dig.
Oh, hells yeah. It's happy hour. Hey, Justin, you're going to think I'm exaggerating here, but I swear this every single time. Every single time. Every single time I recover from COVID, the president gets it. 100%.
I know.
It's kind of a thing.
That old canard. I mean, geez, copycat much.
Today's the day that the CDC set me free, and we double checked with the doctor just to like for reals. Like I don't have to wear a mask around the kids, and they're like, no, you really don't. You can't. You're not shedding. You can't give it to them. And you're like, what if I
Yeah.
tried really hard? And they're like, no, you're just free. You're over it.
Like, all right, I'm gonna spit in this girl's eye. I swear to God. And like right now, if you tell me that I can do it, I'm gonna do it right now.
I mean, I'm just saying.
Eyes open, honey. Eyes open. Eyes open.
Yeah, man. We apparently threaded the needle. The kids, all three of them, still negative. Bonnie and I are now tomorrow. Technically, tomorrow is Bonnie's Freedom Day, but she, was wanting to play it safe. But the doctor really kind of squashed all that. She's like, no, you just knock it off. Take off that mask. Go hug your kids.
Yeah.
And that was really comforting. It was worth the expense of a doctor's visit, telemedicine visit to do that.
It's kind of, that is one thing that I think is very, very good, that telemedicine has become so normalized.
So legit, and
because
it's not like super sketch or like untrustworthy.
well, yeah, and it's just because it should have been like that. Like
Right.
it should have been like that a while ago. And when you actually think about it, it's like, wow, that could like almost revolutionize healthcare. Like if you're like, hey, just for everything, now you don't even necessarily have to have something in state. You can just have a telemedicine person that'll refer you to drugs. And then if you need to go see somebody physically for something, then they can have a referral situation. But like that is I think a very happy byproduct of an insanely damaging situation.
Well, and plus also there's sort of this forced computer literacy that was put upon all of the world, really. Where all of a sudden people
Yeah.
had to learn about the same Skype headaches. You and I have been experiencing for over a decade now.
Let me tell you this. So like now with the PX3 interviews, we had always had them. I just called them, and then I'm like, eventually I got some of the feedback that was like, hey, by the way, the only thing that sucks about your show is that you're talking to people on phones and their phone audio is just never going to be that great. So I told Tamar, who books my guests, I'm like, hey, look, just let them know I'll do whatever VoIP option that they prefer. Whatever it is, I can figure it out. But it's predominantly, I assume, going to be Skype or Zoom. Skype lost. We're dinosaurs.
Everybody loves
Everybody
Zoom.
is on Zoom.
Wow.
Zoom is it. People like that I have on, they're like, they can't figure out, like, do I need to friend you or should I like Skype out? Zoom
Part of that is
it.
kind of by design. By now that Microsoft has their high-end Zoom or Microsoft Teams, their high-end pay-to-play competitor, like it makes sense that they should let Skype completely go to seed, like never update anything, make it as obtuse and as old as possible. So it's like it's
Yeah.
free, but well, why do we? For what we need, we really need something better. Well, look what we have over here. It's called Microsoft Teams.
Well, but even then, it's like apparently this has always been the problem with Skype. Is why nobody bought them for so long, was because they're built off this really old code base, and so it's like if you wanted to update it, you'd have to rebuild it from scratch because it can't be. Apparently it's and not to not to trigger you, but PayPal is a similar thing
Oh,
where like
yeah.
Elon Musk has said that like some of the code he wrote is still functional within PayPal because it's just such an old system.
Yeah, that's a whole thing. If anyone within the sound of my voice has just in literally any human being who works at PayPal who can give some insight, we're coming up on 2 months of $50,000. Our total employee operating revenue is currently locked by PayPal because they can't be bothered to notice that 2 weeks ago we fixed the problem that they were having.
Yeah.
It's a bit of a problem. And then I got COVID.
Yeah.
That was a rough day. That was a rough day.
So you had a bad day. I mean, that was the funny thing is when you were in your crazy COVID night, like that was actually the thing that you were most annoyed about.
Well,
like the next day.
It felt like the one thing I might actually be able to affect. And because, when you have one of those anxiety, despair, and of course I was up for 30 hours straight by the time you and I talked. When you're caught in one of those loops, you give up on the things you can't affect and you look for the one thing that you can. And it's like, God damned if I can't do something to PayPal,
Yeah. Yeah.
Turns out I can't. It turns out I cannot.
Turns out no matter how hard you want, it is just not going to happen. Well, man. So give me, you now are living the scenario that we once fantasized about when we were fantasizing about going to Stockholm and just having locals cough in our mouths until we just kind of coalesced in some roadside inn just so we could say that we had it. You now have had it. You have, according to the CDC and a doctor, been released back into the wild. Is there anything that you could not do before that you are excited to do?
Oh, everything. I mean, Bonnie full on signed off like, yeah, go wherever. Who cares? It's like you've had it. You're apparently immune. The big trick is it's not going to really change whether or not I wear a mask because, not wearing a mask is kind of like wearing a shirt with a dude fucking a dog. Like you're allowed to, but it says something about you.
Yeah, exactly.
And so that's why, I'll wear a mask, but in terms of just being able to go anywhere, oh my God, I'm so excited. I'm going to go.
What's on the list? Give me the list. I want your top five things that Brian Brushwood is excited to do. Number 5
will be done. Will be done as soon as we finish this. I'm going to go home. And on the way home, I'm going to stop and get some motherfucking Chick-fil-A.
Hey! Closed on Sunday. You're my Chick-fil-A. Get that number 1 with a lemonade, Brian. That Jesus chicken. How dare it be slandered? So, all right, yeah, and I hope you're friendly, man. I hope that you're like, hey, how are you doing, by the way? Like, you just give them, like, you want to know what? Thank you for continuing to work and work safely.
Like, hey, man, you want a hug? I mean, free hugs, COVID free hugs.
Exactly. All right, number 4.
Man, number 4, go to a movie.
So that I'm shocked that's as low as 4. I might have pegged it higher, but I certainly think the idea of going. So now, all right.
Part of the reason it's low is because there's nothing good out there. There's nothing good. Like I don't know what I would go just for the novelty of going and being able to report on Cord Killers what it's like. And so maybe I'll that's all maybe I think the number 1 at the box office on Rotten Tomatoes is like Akira. Like they're screening Akira in a few theaters, and it's like, it made $200. We're rolling in it, baby.
So yeah, I mean, I would assume going to a movie for you at this point would be almost the same thing as like, when I walk around Oakland and I buy like a to-go beer from my favorite bars and I tip them $10 just so I can just be like, let me bring some joy so the proprietor of this isn't just like totally despondent about their entire dream dying because of this disease.
The number three.
And by the way, everybody here in the chat that's like, oh, I can't do it. I couldn't go to a theater. Well, guess what?
Well, no
you didn't have
fucking
COVID. Now,
yeah, right?
did you?
You don't have a
Like-
fucking the CDC, who's fairly conservative about this shit, says 90 days we can say with confidence. Fucking roll around in COVID, lick anyone with COVID, go up, kiss the president right on the mouth. It's fine.
Yeah.
And then
Exactly.
there's a study in
A new experimental therapeutic called Brian's Kisses have been deployed to the president.
There's a study in Iceland that is a little bit more ambitious and says at least 4 months. At least 4 months. And I did not know this, but in the entire world, there are only 3 cases. In the entire world, out of all of COVID, there's only 3 cases in the scientific literature of anybody getting reinfected. Full stop.
Yeah.
At any amount of time. So
That's one of those things that, like, we still don't know a lot about this disease in terms of the whole of it, right? So we are only looking at trends, and right now the trend says it is possible but highly unlikely
right.
to get reinfected. All right.
Right.
So that's
number-
the movie. Are you thinking, like, did the movie theater across you survive, or did that close?
It did not. It died and got bought by someone else. And I believe maybe I'll just waltz on in there
Yeah.
wearing a mask just for ceremonial purposes.
Yeah. Can you make a mask that says, I don't
it says-
need this, I have COVID?
It just says purely ceremonial across the mask. What does that mean? It's like, it means
Exactly.
I already had it and you can't get it from me, but I'm wearing this because who's cool? Me. All right. all right.
Exactly. Just political statement written written on the front of it.
Actually, that's not a bad idea.
All right, so number 3.
Number three on the list is going to be go to Pluckers, belly up at that bar, fire up the old Hearthstone, because I've noticed, like, I have gotten Pluckers, those hot wings on takeout. They're the true
Yeah.
bar wings.
They are
But
great bar wings.
Not going to lie, it's a little bit different eating them at the kitchen table here at HQ than it is bellied up to the bar all alone with that fucking giant 24-ounce. And, it's such a big stein that I don't normally, normally I like IPAs instead of the lights because they're heavier and harder to drink. But it's like, that thing is so fucking giant. I'm like, what is the lightest beer you have? And
Yeah.
then, and it's like they fill it with soda water and they just put like a drop of beer tincture in there for me to
Exactly.
get through.
Oh, dude, there with your gigantic stein, a bunch of muted, like, daytime sports content,
Yeah.
all surrounding you. Hearthstone, pinkies out. Now, here's
That's right. You eat with your fingers and you play
you
with
eat
your
with your
fingers.
fingers, and you got the pinkies out, right?
Yeah.
Now let me. This is something that is, by the way, Oakland opening indoor dining, limited indoor dining that does not include bars, only food, and even at the restaurants, you cannot belly up to the bar. That opens in 5 days. October 7th is the first time in Oakland that indoor dining
Are you
will have
able
been
to
allowed.
order boozy drinks or just food only?
Yeah. Oh, no. Booze. They're letting them throw booze out the window now.
Yeah.
If you have a liquor license, just go. If you can sell an alcoholic cocktail,
It's like
then
you
you're
could
allowed
you
to
could be
do it.
driving and the cop says, "Will you just wrap a napkin around it so I'm not able to see the label while I pass
Oh,
you?"
I literally, like, I've even gone on the other side of, like, just no, whatever. I'm like, come at me, copper. Like, just tell me that that's illegal to do.
I mean, it's kind of a doubling down because not only, nobody wants to, in the middle of the pandemic and all that stuff, but on top of that, with all the Black Lives Matter stuff, it's a sensitive time where, police, like, there are certain jurisdictions, as I'm sure you covered on the politics podcast, where the official order was do not police people, just only respond to calls.
Yeah, spoiler alert, the Oakland Police Department does not want anything that is, like, specifically asked for, and even then they're going to demur. But there we go. Okay, so you're telling me at Pluckers you can actually sit at that bar.
Oh man, you know what? I just assumed that was the case. But they also have those high top tables that jut out like a bar, and you're still
Yeah,
you're sitting on a
still
stool.
fine.
You're at your own table.
You're still fine. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, number 2, purely
Number 2.
for sentimental reasons, because I think I don't know, but it's gonna be Torchy's, right? Got to be Torchy's. That's the
Torchy's
classic.
was 2019 Brian could be found most days at some point for some meal during the day, posted up at that Torchy's. Like that is something that 2020 robbed from you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and oh man, I guess. Oh, when was the last time I went there? It would have been February, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Torchy's happened to have the only bartender that I actually would talk to. Everyone else is like that. That was part of the shtick, right? Like, and I would get annoyed when they would point and try to guess what I was going to have, and then or like you and I have talked about that. Part of what I love about being on the road is being anonymous, you know. Because I spend a lot of time with everybody knowing who I am, and it's like, you know, when I'm alone at a bar, that's the one time that I would prefer that nobody know who I am. And even if I'm just the IPA guy, that's more than I'm comfortable with. But the bartender at Torchy's is the one that I would actually talk to, and I learned her name, and so I do think
they
it'll be fun.
They were demure. They were professionals. Like they were like not. They wouldn't do because what you don't want is the shtick. You don't want the patter of like, let me guess.
Yeah,
geez. They would just go like another, and you go like just apostrophe. It starts with that word starts with an N.
Yep.
Another, and you just go like not even words. And boom, it would just another one would come.
They certainly wouldn't frat bro me on the hotness of a hot sauce and just say like, oh, hey, it's all right.
Oh yeah, I guess if you're a pussy, then all right. So Torchy's is 2. I would have had Mitsula would have had the sports books getting blown out right now because that was the prohibitive number one guess as to what the Family Feud answer of what Brian is now going to do now that he cannot contract COVID. What is number one?
So number one, and keep in mind, we only got the all clear. Literally, I had to chase Bonnie off the phone. We got it literally 5 minutes before, or 10 minutes before we went live. So something I have not been able to do that is number one on the list. Hug the shit out of my kids. Cheesy.
That is awesome. That is awesome. I didn't know. I thought that had already been cleared, but of course that would be the number one.
Yeah. But also that's it's cleared, but also Bonnie's like, well, I know technically, and it says, and theoretically it should, and all that. Like you could use all those words, but it's still like, man, it was hours ago that there were fevers and legs shaking and all that stuff. It doesn't feel right to just run up and slobbery kiss your kid.
Yeah.
And
how has that gone? Like, so was Penny just like de facto XO of the ship while the captains were waylaid?
It was more like, and it was really something to behold. It was more like Penny and Josie were a married couple, and they would divvy up responsibilities. And I can tell you this: I've never been more proud of the kids. I think I said that last week. They really did take care of Callie. She ran out of steam. This got boring real quick for her, and she started to invent ways to push the boundaries of getting too close. And so we had to push back on that. But now we're at the place where I guess it's super duper all clear.
It's allowed. It is allowed. It is now back to business as usual. Which, I mean, let me just say, and I know I speak for the entire audience, that what a blessing that you guys got the level of that that you did, because I mean to get in and out with like one night, and by the way, you should listen to the PX3 episode this week or today where Brian and I go through it. But you made the point on that like even that one night, if there were a way to remove the like psychological element of it and only isolate the physical stuff, that could have been a NyQuil knock you out, wake up, and you could go along. But the fact that there's all these thoughts of like, oh my God, my age, oh my God, 20,000 dead, like,
well, and also I was the
rending.
I was the first person I knew to get it.
Yeah.
Like or even close to it. Like I can't think of a podcast where anyone got it and talked about their the experience. That's part of the reason that even as it was happening, I was so liberal about tweeting it out is because the toughest part was how scary it was because of how unknown it was and how
Yeah.
hard it is to get to the solid good information and how easy it is to misread the information that's out there. But man, you're right. It was definitely a case, as we mentioned on the PX3 episode, where I got it harder and faster, but it was also shorter. Whereas Bonnie had milder symptoms, but they lasted like twice as long. So she only just now is like 48 or 72 hours away from having a chills event or something.
Jeez Louise.
Yeah. Yeah. As far as we know,
craziness.
still just one member of the team is positive, but knock on wood. It's been 10 days since his exposure, and he's still 100% asymptomatic, which
for Rowan.
well, okay, if we're gonna out him, then yes.
Oh shit! Sorry, I didn't know that wasn't.
It's not mine to say, but I don't think he would be overly worried about it.
Yeah. Oh, sorry.
That's all right.
I didn't know that was a secret.
To be honest, I just couldn't remember if it was or wasn't, so I just played it safe. But yeah, so I mean, what, 72 more hours, and again, it's not the craziest thing for him to be totally asymptomatic. 30% of people, that's the case.
Yeah. I mean, it's again, the more I've thought about the idea of like where we are culturally from this, the more it's just like, how can we, I mean, the fact that it is deadly means that we should all take it deadly serious. And the fact that we are all in this together should be the overriding thing. And if we have a common humanity, then we appeal to it. And that should, in my mind, be the end all be all. That being said, understanding that we are pattern recognizing creatures and we often have a habit of compiling the data in a way that fits a pattern that we like, you can look at the 20,000 dead and say, well, I have 20,000 things in a row.
200,000 dead.
Sorry, 200,000 dead. And say, I have 200 points in a row that show this is the most deadly thing ever. Or you can have, hundreds of thousands of people that never feel a symptom about it and say, well, no, that means that it's just, something that is comes and goes. And it's like, when you look at it like that, to me, it demonstrates why we've seen such a varied reaction to it, because I honestly think it's beyond politics. I think that right now we're in a political season, so we're going to point fingers on it. But it's like, look, I live in a town that's probably going to count its Trump votes on one hand, maybe two. And you walk around that lake, and there sure are a lot of maskless people hanging out. There sure are a lot of maskless people like doing stuff inside. There's a little rave around the corner here that defiantly was operating without a license and had to get shut down by the cops. And none of these people are like, MAGA Trump train folks. It's just people who don't trust that what they're being told is real and are going to go ahead and do it.
Yeah, we have a mutual friend who has an adult child and who's in his 20s and is, I remember what it's like to be in your early 20s. You're in your own world, right? He's going to it's like popular tourist destinations like South Padre Island, walking up and down the beach and nobody's wearing masks or whatever. And he just spent like a month at an Airbnb and said to his dad, our mutual friend, he said,
yeah.
"Oh, COVID is that still a thing?" Unironically, completely unironically. Yeah. And it's like that's brain explosion next level. Like how can you even? It's insane. It's crazy.
Yeah, I can understand now some of the stories of like the Spanish flu and like we'll see where this ends up compared to that by the time that we're 2 or 3 years out. But man, when something is this vicious, like, and it spreads as easy as it spreads as fast as it spreads. And again, there's no guarantee. It's not like this is like, oh, you're always going to go to the hospital. It's not like this is going to be like, oh, you're always going to die. It's not like this is like, oh, you're always easy. I mean, I still say that if this thing hit kids, there would have been
There would have
cops
been
enforcing
guns in the
picnics.
street. Yeah, no,
Yeah,
people would walk
exactly.
around, and you would personally escort your kid to school with your AR-15 and explain
Yeah.
the importance of social distancing to everybody you saw.
But it's like, even then, that's a soft spot in our own culture. If it's like, oh, it's mostly killing old people, like, okay.
Yeah. Speaking of which, man, people in the chat are saying that Trump just got taken to the hospital like just now.
Really?
Yeah, BBC. Here, let me throw this on the screen. U.S. President Donald Trump has been taken to the hospital less than 24 hours after testing positive for coronavirus. He had mild symptoms. He got a cocktail of drugs as a preliminary measure, and he was fatigued and in good spirits, which is what we heard before. But apparently, he was transported to Walter Reed. Wow. So, and that's breaking and updating now. Oof.
Yeah. So I guess precautionary measures are what they're saying. That's never a great, never a great thing.
I mean, that does seem like, I mean, with the freaking president, I mean, you don't wait. You don't wait. It's like what they told us when we were positive was like, the moment you feel even don't mess around with your breathing. Everything else is going to be like a really shitty flu. But if you have any trouble breathing, you don't wait. You hit 911. So it may be that he, just experienced enough shortness of breath that somebody said, that's enough. Let's go. And better safe than sorry. Oh, that's interesting. Codes from Home asks if we got pulse oximeters. I think we mentioned this last week, but Bonnie had secretly gotten a pulse oximeter, like back in March, because she was like, okay, these are going to be gone. And so let me get one now. But also I don't want Brian obsessing about it. So I'm going to keep it secret from Brian. So she kept it secret for 4 months.
What is it? I don't even know what those are.
Oh, a pulse oximeter measures the amount of oxygen in your blood. And it's a test of how well your lungs are converting the air you're breathing into oxygen.
Cool.
And in fact, the new iPhone or Apple Watch has it. And in fact, hold on. Yeah, here we go. That Garmin watch that you were mocking has one on there.
Oh, I'm not mocking
I'm
it.
sorry. I know it was a good bit. I like the Ivan Garmin stuff.
No, that was Will. Will was going hard on the Garmin.
But it actually measures. You can set it to do it like while you sleep. It's telling me to keep still. But you, like, if you have a mask on, it'll tell you you're 85% doing your job of making oxygen. But if you take the mask off, all of a
Gotcha.
sudden healthy lungs are 95 to 99. And the more shit you have in your lungs, the less
The harder it is.
Exactly. And so the lower that number goes. So they talk about people who slowly were degenerating, but much like a hiker who's hiking up the mountain, and it's so gradual that they never notice that they're starved for oxygen. And it's not until
Yeah.
they get way up there that they're gasping for breath and they don't realize it. So once I saw that was a thing, I was like, Bonnie was like as I read the article, I was like, you know what, Bonnie, I think you're right. I think we should get one of those. And she just sets it in front of me. And so
Shit.
yeah, man, as if 2020 couldn't get weird enough. Somebody attacked Rick Moranis, I guess. Somebody punched him.
I know.
What was
Punch
this-
Rick
what-
Moranis.
What was the story on that?
I don't know. I guess he was pissed off about the Spaceballs.
Okay, I thought it was the gatekeeper. It was like,
Yeah.
finally.
No, I mean, who knows? I mean, that guy's, him and Gene Wilder, really like the two legendary, like out at their peak, never to return again kind of stories. Although I heard somebody, I think I remember Rick Moranis, that there was something he was going to come back for.
Yeah, there was talk, like, I think he did a bit part in somebody's thing. I think the whole reason that he, kind of retired from public life was because he wanted to be with his kids. And I think the most he did was like an open mic night. He would play some guitar or something up in Canada, I believe. And then there was talk about like, well, my kids are out. Yeah, sure. I don't have anything going on. I'll do a little bit of acting.
Yeah.
But nothing really big, I think.
What a legend too.
Oh, yeah.
Moranis.
Yeah.
Like that. The fact that he was able to kind of transcend that like ultra nerd character, like that archetype, like the Ghostbusters archetype, the Honey I Shrunk the Kids archetype, like, but then he still had the like Strange Brew
yeah.
stuff, like that's just it's just I don't know. He's such a legend. And then somebody punched him for something. Was that just like some random ass New York stuff?
I
or,
don't
like-
know, man. Like, because you remember, was it Buzz Aldrin that just got punched in the middle of an interview for no reason, or was it no? It was John Glenn.
No, but yeah. No, Buzz Aldrin punched somebody.
Yeah. Oh, who was saying that you didn't go to the moon? That dude just laid him out.
Somebody got in his mush about not going to the moon, and Buzz Aldrin just gave him the business.
Yeah, it must be John Glenn that I'm thinking of then. Because I think the joke on late night television was they showed him getting punched, and then they snapped right to that scene in The Right Stuff when John Glenn is Ed Harris as John Glenn is seeing all of the stars and firefly looking things around him.
Yeah. Oh shit. Man, I'm trying to think of other stuff that I can ask you about the COVID experience. Oh, you got to the end of Apple Plus, right? You
You
just ripped through all of Apple Plus.
I think the only thing left for me to see that's worth anything is the last half of Central Park, which is kind of hypnotic, and especially
Is it?
if you, I don't know, if you liked Hamilton, then watch Central Park. If you liked Hamilton and Bob's Burgers, yeah,
it's a musical thing.
yeah, they and man, Hamilton, at least they only wrote like 25 songs and sing the same 25 songs every show. This fucking show, there's like 5 songs that are unique to that show that are just made, and then some of them are some hooks that get stuck in your mind.
You want to know what else was like that? Did you ever watch Crazy Ex-Girlfriend?
No, did they do the same thing?
Like 4 songs an episode.
Oh, that's right,
and-
with choreography and everything, right?
Yeah, with choreography. And it's like at a certain point, I like stopped watching it in the second season because it was like overwhelming. I was like, I'm not that much of a theater nerd. Like I kind of an episode is good. Like in fact, you could probably go 2 or 3 episodes and then just hit me with the fact that you can go to that gear. But at a certain point it was like I don't, because then I felt like, oh, should I be judging this? Like, should I be judging whether or not this song was as good as the other song? Like just my like song judging brain is not compatible with my television watching brain.
Yeah. The okay, so things I've watched on Apple Plus. I watched up to where we're at on Long Way Up, which is the riding electric motorbikes with Obi-Wan Kenobi from Argentina
which
all the way up to LA.
because he's done a bunch of those. It was like Long Way Round and
Right.
Long Way Back or whatever. So like he's done a lot of these like these motorcycle travel documentaries.
Yeah. Well, and man, you may think that this is just those previous shows plus the word electric, but it turns out electric is the star of the show because electric equals problematic.
They constantly have problems.
Oh no, and it's not, well, because it's not just them, it's also the production team is in a pickup truck. They have 2 pickup trucks that are electric, and they have to they try to get charged, but they're in rural Southern America or South America, and
Gotcha.
the electricity is not great, and they're supposed to be like phase 3 generators or whatever instead of stage 1 electric or so on. And even then, the stage 1 isn't working. They have to come up with these inventive ways to charge shit. Like the pickup truck was just totally dead, and so they found a parked big rig, and they said, "Would you like money? How about you drop your payload, hook this rope up to our truck, drive us an hour that way, and then we'll use the wheels to charge up the car, and then drive us an hour back." And then we'll be fully charged. And they were like, he's like, cool. And so there's this weird like money laundering carbon scheme where it's
Jesus
like at the end of the
Christ.
day, they're still running on gas, but it just doesn't really look like it.
Oh my God. That's so funny.
But I'll tell you what, man, they're not messing around on their Vistas. They do beautiful work, but in order to get the scenery to pop, and if anybody watches it, I do recommend it. If you like travelogue shows or even just want to see some cool cool ass drone photography. Go ahead and watch it, but you kind of have to pick a color palette to go with, and the color palette that makes Sunset sing and water pop bright blue is kind of this like sepia thing that also causes all human teeth to look bright yellow. So it's like I can't stop seeing it every time they go to, like, you're like, holy shit, look at that. And then they pull over, they're like, well, that was great, grin, and we're like,
Yeah, and it's like Ewan McGregor's got that big Hollywood smile, and you're like, no, Ewan, no.
Right, well, and I kept thinking like there's no way his teeth are that yellow. But then I realized like you can't switch those color palette that color grading without it being, you know, disconcerting or shaking you out. So I watched all of that. I watched all of Ted Lasso. In fact, I watched the conclusion today, the last episode of the season.
I think probably 3 or 4 episodes from the end, but that'll be one night's viewing because
Yeah.
those episodes are so short.
God, it's such a good show.
It's a charming show. I can't stop thinking about Brett when I watch it. Brett, the energy of Ted Lasso and Brett Rounceville are very
Identical?
similar to me. Yeah.
I watched all of Mythic Quest, which, man, I'm not gonna lie, Mythic Quest compared, like, Ted Lasso starts delivering the one-liners and the zingers, and the pace is right from the beginning. You can watch first 2 or 3
Yeah.
episodes, and it's like I get the whole thing. Mythic Quest is a slow burn, but it does have a very good payoff. You're gonna have to buckle in for the whole ride on Mythic Quest, but you'll feel pretty good by the end.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you finally watched the Beastie Boys.
Yeah, which
you had saved. I didn't know whether or not that was you not wanting to go into it, or whether or not you were just still
no,
residually
no.
angry about the initial time you tried to watch it and the Apple TV stuff was so frustrating.
I mean, there was certainly a little bit of that. It had that stink on it, but then on top of that, it sounded like it wasn't what you were hoping for. So I'm like, oh, I'm getting around to it. And then finally you muscled me off to go do that. And I did. And I'm glad I did. I didn't know how much I didn't know about the Beastie Boys. And there are so many samples that you identify with Beastie Boys, and you know it came from somewhere, but you don't know where. And so it's like the way I described it to Justin is like, even if it was Justin spending 2 hours filling in all the gaps of my Beastie Boys knowledge, I'd be happy. And that'd be 2 hours well spent. Having the Beastie Boys and Spike Jones do that like chef's kiss, that was great. And I didn't know that Cookie Puss was an actual mascot of Carvel's.
Oh yeah, there was a real Cookie Puss.
No, I just figured it was something dirty that they had made up. It's kind of funny.
Yeah, man, it was. But I didn't steer you wrong on my
Oh,
preamp,
no. In fact,
right?
you primed me just right. I was prepared for a really good slideshow remembrance, and that's exactly what I got.
That's what you get.
I also last night I watched on Netflix Enola Holmes with
Oh, I didn't know that was out.
Yeah. It was cute.
What'd you think? Charming?
Yeah, Bonnie liked it a little bit more than I did. I thought it was cute. Did you ever see Young Sherlock Holmes?
No, I don't know if I ever saw. I saw Young Indiana Jones.
I never saw that. That was the TV show, right?
At the TV show, yeah.
Yeah, with River Phoenix. Yeah.
Was it River Phoenix or was it somebody else?
I think
River Phoenix played him in the
movie.
In the movie.
Yeah, I guess I just assumed that was it. Yeah, Young Sherlock Holmes was. I liked it a lot because I watched it as a kid. But Enola Holmes is it's quaint and fun and but like I didn't ask Bonnie to pause it when I went to go pee. You know, I was like I'm pretty sure I know where this is going.
Yeah, Corey Carrier and Sean Patrick Flannery played the title characters.
Ah.
So Enola Holmes, fun. I mean, a lot of talent in that one. That was like all the the Enola Holmes was basically the like, hey, while you guys are not shooting other series for us, do you want to also be in a movie together?
Yeah, I guess so. You're right, because those are all Netflix stars.
Yeah.
Except for Helena Bonham Carter, but she's not in there very long. Dude, I watched The Social Dilemma. Have you watched this thing?
Teasdale keeps getting up my shit about it. I'm pre-annoyed by the concept, but people keep saying it's good. So eventually I'll probably have to watch it.
I hated it, but I love that it exists because they got exactly right all of the facts, but in order to make it clear to people who are not technical, they have to wrap it in this ridiculous, hysterical melodrama. It is laughably bad, the dramatic parts of it. But if it's also the #1 Netflix movie in all of India. And I would imagine that if you live in a rural village and you just have the Facebook or whatever, you probably need, and you're watching something shot in a different language than you're accustomed to speaking, you probably need the message to be simple, simple, simple about like, this is the addictive nature of what they've put together. Everything is super reduced in the dramatic parts. So I understand why, and I ain't going to begrudge them, but they also... I'm a big fan of the Pessimists Archive, the podcast, right?
This is really where my pre-annoyance comes from is that the algorithms are now the latest in the long line of the technology that's making us awful, when, spoiler alert, it's us.
Yes.
We're just awful.
Well, and specifically, like in the first third, one of the first things they say about it is like, nobody panicked when the bicycle was invented. And quite literally, the first episode of the Pessimist Archive I listened to was about the perils of the bicycle. It drove women to hysteria. It bounced them in unfamiliar ways. The human brain was not built to conceive of such speed. And then once, like, he couldn't have done a worse initial filter for me to set up, because every single thing they said after that was, the human brain isn't evolved to process this many likes and dislikes. The human brain isn't evolved to... It's like, yeah, you know what the human brain is evolved to do? Rape and murder. That's rape, murder, and exile, and set up an in-group and an out-group. That's, you know what? I'm not a big fan of doing what the brain was evolved to do.
Yeah, I guess that's the thing that just bothers me about the concept, is that it's like, especially like when friends of mine that should know better are like, oh man, it's great. It really shows you how these algorithms are like weaponized against us. And it's like, but yeah, I mean, I'm not here to defend the Facebook algorithm, but also like, who cares?
Well, and also,
like this is the same thing that it always is and has always been with any new technology.
There was also a really curious beat where they're saying, it's totally fucked up, bro. There's no borders. Ideas just come swooping in from foreign countries. They could just buy influence on people. And it's like, and they name Russia, they name China, they name, some other place. And it's like, I'm like, motherfuckers, y'all were sucking your own dicks during the Arab Spring about how you were able to reach across borders without anyone stopping you, and you were able to sway elections and get people out in the street over there. It's like, pick a fucking side, assholes.
Yeah. No, it's I'll watch it.
Go ahead and give it a hate watch, but know this, Jonathan Haidt shows up, and
just let me just say this.
Okay.
I'm so thrilled that you hate it. I'm just so excited that you hate it. I'm so excited that it's just that my initial frustration with it is not in vain.
Well, you're not wrong, and again, it's comical, the melodrama, but again, you have to simplify the message. And imagine being somebody who's just neck deep in Facebook and has never paused to consider this, who's never read, the dozens of nonfiction books about this subject that you and I read. And so it's super entry, it's basic algebra, and you and I are in Calc 2, and
I guess that's the thing. That's the thing, is that it's just, I don't resent it existing. I resent it being described as smart or revelatory. I think that is probably my initial frustration with it.
Yeah, and I think you and I are just ahead of the curve because, being able to recognize, several of the people, and of course they pull out of context, some of the it's easy to point to the thing that happened. Like, yes, it is true that in adolescent girls admitted to the hospital for self-harm in the teenage years, that number has almost doubled for suicides and more than doubled for cutting and self-harm. That's a definite bad thing. But I don't see anyone pointing to all the good things that come from it and the net good. So my economist brain took over and. Anyway, they get all the facts right and manage to draw the wrong conclusion.
Well, and that's the other thing is that it's like, I don't know. I just kind of feel like they're one of the perils of our modern world where all tabulation and statistics is so much easier to do is that we wind up having this odd idea about data, that data is truth, when really data can be compiled to tell a million different stories, right? Like it takes more than just stringing a bunch of numbers together to really show something that I think is revelatory at the very least. Like you can illustrate elements and it's like, all right, well then honestly, what is the measurable progress or demotivation? Like the idea of people in small towns feeling that if they don't get along with their high school classmates, their lives are over,
right?
Which is what happened before the internet, or anybody from a random place all over the world being able to puncture that person's feelings. Like I'm open to say one or the other, but like, let's not pretend that we came from a place of milk and honey, because that's usually what we believe.
Yeah. Well, and again, they do get some stuff right that I think is transformative for a lot of people, because what we hear, and they point out accurately, that you hear about like, oh, they're collecting your data, they're selling your data. They're not selling your data. What they're doing is they're building a predictive model of exactly what you tend to do and when you tend to do it. And then psychologically speaking, they're able to identify moments of decision so that they can swoop in at that moment and, and suggest a pair of sneakers at just the right time.
They are selling access to your data.
Correct.
They are selling tickets to your data. They are not selling the data outright. But then again, it's like, you're right. At a certain point, you have to draw this in a simplistic enough level with metaphors that people understand.
Yeah. And so I don't begrudge it. And to be honest, I'm actually really, really thrilled that these ideas are finally being packaged in a way that will be heard by members of my family who will never in a million years read the books you and I've read or have the discussions you and I have. So in that regard, I'm nothing but thrilled that this exists. But for me, it was algebra. It was algebra 1 and we're in calc 2.
Yeah. Here's something that I watched last night.
Yeah.
Fargo.
Oh, I've only watched the first episode. Have you watched the second one yet?
I watched the second one, baby.
Tell me it gets better, because I can't get past Chris Rock. Like I'm waiting for the part where he becomes anyone besides Chris Rock.
I had a similar situation with that, where like I wondered whether or not somebody who has no familiarity of Chris Rock, the stand-up comedian, would watch him and be like, oh wow, what a distinctive voice and hand motions and acting style. Whereas I watch it and I'm like, oh, he's about to do,
he's about to do the difference between.
Yeah, exactly. Right. Like, there's Jews and then there's Irish. So the second episode puts him more into the story and also flashes a side of his character's personality that's a little bit more in the vein of Chris Rock.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think, for me, 2 episodes in, that particular lump disappears from the center of the rug. Like, he's still Chris Rock acting like Chris Rock, but his character is involved in more things. And so you're focusing a little bit more on the story than like, oh, here's Chris Rock talking to the old mafia don, and here's Chris Rock talking to his, his friend. That being said, God, did I miss Fargo?
Oh my
There's
God.
it's just so like, and it gets to the point where they've done it so many times. This is what, the 4th season now
Mm-hmm.
or 5th? Is it
No,
4th or 5th?
I think it's the 4th. It was 2000s, and then it was 1970s.
Well, no, yeah, 2000s, then 70s, then
Oh, what was the last one?
well, wait a minute.
Hold on, let me look it up.
The first one was the Billy Bob Thornton one.
Yeah, that was 2000s.
Then there was the Kirsten Dunst one with Jesse Plemons.
Yes. When did that take place? That was 90s?
That was modern.
Oh,
yeah.
that was modern day.
That was modern. Then
Okay.
there was
70s.
the 70s one, and
And
then
now
there
we're in
was
now in the 50s.
no. Then there was the one with the guy who had the bulimic one.
Oh shit! With Ewan McGregor playing both parts.
Yeah. So
Oh,
this is the
shit.
5th one.
Wow! How did I even forget that? That was so good. He was great. Like him playing a character, playing his brother, his identical twin brother, and being able to sell that was remarkable.
So it's to a point now where you just know that the very unique formula of Fargo is indeed a formula, and the silly names are a formula, and the like accents are a formula, the quirks are a formula, the accidents that motivate the story are a formula. But God damn it, do I love the formula?
no,
Like-
look, I mean,
I love it.
yeah, and you could tell, man. Like Noah Hawley, he's got such an eye. God, was it which season was it that they did a riff on the stranger scene from where they're sitting at the bar and from The Big Lebowski? At a bowling alley, covered in blood, and there's a mysterious person who gives a monologue. And
Oh, I think that was one of the more recent ones. That might have been last season.
yeah, God,
But yeah, no, this one, it's interesting though, because also this is one that kind of delves, like so many shows are, into race.
Yep.
Right. This is an element of where America was with race in 1950. And I think it's interesting. It's an interesting perspective. And it's also very interesting every season has the like chaos agent, the person who's just kind of up to no good. And the chaos agent in this story is I think particularly compelling.
Oh, interesting. And you're talking about beyond spoiler alerts for the pilot, the 12-year-old kid with the pellet rifle.
Yes, no. Beyond the 12-year-old kid with the pellet rifle, I'm talking about the nurse.
Oh,
The,
Jesus! Yeah, no, yeah, the wild card that's gonna throw blame all over the place. That's gonna mix everything up. It's the blender. There's one thing.
And things.
All the
things
ingredients
only,
go in, and for the smoothie
Yeah.
that Justin loves, you of course need the blender, and so there's always
Exactly.
the blender.
And that only gets more interesting as we go further into the story. But I kind of wish that there were more episodes, because I don't think this is the most electric start that Fargo has ever had. But
Well,
number one, I love the fact that we're just getting a straight out gangster tale in like, this is like a like mob war story that show has never really done before.
Yeah. Well, and I guess that's part of Kansas. It's in Kansas City, right?
Yeah.
Kansas City was always referred to as, in all of the other seasons, they refer to Kansas City in a way that makes you think it's corporate. It's Montreal. It's whatever. It's like the place where everything is organized, and that's HQ where they have their shit together. And we're seeing the formation of that structure in the 1950s.
Yeah. Oh no, totally. And you see, obviously the beginning of of the pilot kind of brings you through the sort of like Gangs of New York style, like this is how we got to our point, and then you're seeing the modern, or quote unquote the 1950 modern version of it.
Took me a minute to recognize Jason Schwartzman.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It wasn't until I was fixated on the mole that I realized who he was.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see where he goes, because in the 2 episodes that are up so far, he, like, I don't know whether or not he's miscast or he's specifically there so he looks vulnerable. Because that is obvious, that's an animating factor of our story. And so it's like, I don't know whether or not I should be looking at him and being like, he's not a mob boss, in a way that I'm like, oh, I'm smart because I know this.
It's like, no, that's the point. Is you should be uncomfortable with him trying to fill the shoes of a mob boss.
Yeah.
Here, if you want to Skype in for the last 3 minutes, you can. The internet went down, and first time in a long time, apparently. But I texted John, and he was able to reset it.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. That, and we watched The Boys.
Are you all caught up on The Boys? I haven't seen this week's.
Caught up. Yeah, we are caught up on The Boys now, and
not today's though, right?
I think the Friday episodes come out on Thursday
night.
Us.
Oh, okay, cool. Well then, how are you feeling about this season of The Boys?
I love it.
Yeah.
It's just it's such a fun show. I think it's like there is a line for which it very expertly kind of dances around, where it's like, it's never quite as predictable as you think it's going to be. It's never quite as, even though it gets very close to being super heavy-handed in its message kind of stuff, it often pulls back and brings us back into a surreal world where it's like, oh no, that's not our world, this is a crazy world. But just great. I mean, I genuinely think the Homelander dude, like, he needs an Emmy nomination for this season. Like, he's
fantastic.
Awesome.
Yeah, blonde evil Superman is amazing.
Well, just because he's so vulnerable and
so desperate for approval, but just in a very specific spoiled brat way that he wants it. And he's like, exactly. No, you're not doing it right. You're not, I don't believe you.
There's just this interplay of power and hatred and desire and insecurity that is just like, mwah, chef's kiss. Perfect.
Yeah. Man, I guess, we're up against it. I'm trying. It's been so long since we've been able to do a proper happy hour. We got plenty to talk about, but I guess we'll save it the rest for next week.
We'll save it.
Hey, one.
Good to be back, baby. Good to be back.
One cautionary warning. Some people are lighting up social media. Just please remember, social media is a tattoo, and what you type today about someone may not be a good look in the future. So everyone, please be respectful and responsible in your tweets. All right, I guess that's it. And then now I see if I can hold on. No, I have to reload this entire thing. So anything else going on, Justin?
No problem. Hey guys, everybody, thank you so much for the support for this show during all the stuff that Brian and his family have gone through. I know that they greatly appreciate it. I greatly appreciate it in terms of how well you guys have supported and tolerated and been okay with us taking episodes off. It is awesome to have people around us that support us in the same way that you guys got.
Yeah, thank you guys so much. We love you so much. Have a great day.
See ya.
happy hour. Natty Tax happy hour. Natty Tax happy hour. Dig.